This is Michelle and Ryan, and welcome to the Celebrate Marriage Cast, where we hope to restore and reclaim godly marriages through honest and real conversations.
Welcome to episode 6. We're Ryan and Michelle, and it's great to be with you here today with a special guest talking about something that really I feel like has been missing in marriage. And it's the idea of fun, of laughter, of joy. And that's what we're going to share with you here today.
We have a special guest here today, Ted Cunningham. He is the founding pastor of Woodland Hills Family Church in Branson, Missouri. And he and his wife, Amy, have been married for 27 years. So they have a lot to share on marriage. We're so excited. They also have 2 children, Corinne and Carson. He's the author of multiple books, including Fun Loving You, Trophy Child, and Young and in Love. And also the co-author of 4 books with Dr. Gary Smalley, including The Language of Sex, From Anger to Intimacy, and his most recent release, A Love That Laughs. He's a comedian on the Date Night Comedy Tour and has spoken to over 100,000 people every year, and recently was in Sioux Falls for a marriage date night here at Celebrate. Ted, it is so great to have you back with us. Welcome.
I've been looking forward to this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking time to be on our show today. This is really exciting. You're actually our first guest, and I feel like we're kicking it off with a bang.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is great.
Awesome. Well, Ted, part of, for me, I think for a lot of us in the Midwest here, we grew up in pretty conservative churches. And the idea of a pastor and comedian is probably unheard of for a lot of people. Just a quick story. Like, I remember growing up in my church, the first time we had an acoustic guitar was...
It's a big deal.
Big deal, pretty risky. So
Yeah.
how did this come about?
Well, first of all, when you say Midwest, I grew up in Chicago. That felt Midwest.
Okay.
Now you guys are North Midwest. Now I'm in Branson, Missouri, and we still consider ourselves Midwest in Branson, Missouri. So when you look at a map, it goes all the way up to North Dakota. Did you know that?
No.
That the North
It's a big
Dakotans
Midwest.
think they're Midwest. So that's why I think I relate so well when I am with y'all up here in Sioux Falls, because it feels like coming home in a lot of ways. So when you talk about church, I get it.
Yeah.
I see it a lot with pastors who'll tell a joke or maybe a humorous story and a message, and about halfway through it, they're trying to back out of it because it just doesn't feel comfortable.
Sure.
Or the pastor that gets up after a date night comedy event and explains to the church why what we just did was okay. God is not mad at us for laughing and finding the humor or the lighter side of life. And that's, you said it's missing in marriage. It's missing in the church, and it's missing in marriage ministry. And that's why part of my passion is, a lot of great marriage content out there. And it's not... I don't feel I stumbled into bringing more humor, laughter, fun into marriage. But when I started to hear from couples, like after an event, I haven't laughed this hard in a long time. My face hurts, my side hurts. And I'm like, what are you doing then? Like in your home and,
Right.
and in life. And I know the grind of life gets to us all. And my desire every day is to get Amy to laugh. It's a mission in life for me. She has what I call a silent patriotic laugh. When she finds something funny, she places her hand over her heart, she leans forward, and nothing comes out. And I go for it every day. I don't get it every day, but I still make the attempt.
Right.
That's a great goal.
That's great.
I love that. Well, Ted, as a comedian, we're guessing a lot of your material comes from real life, and we've read the book, A Love That Laughs. It was chock full of examples of it. We loved reading that. But can you just give our listeners a little bit of insight in that? Like, what real life material does your content come from?
Yeah, so my mentor, Dr. Gary Smalley, went to be with the Lord about 8 years ago, but his passion in life was helping couples take the difficult, the frustrating parts of life and marriage, and finding a way to have fun with it. When he read James 1, consider it pure joy, count it all joy, when he took that literally, meaning whatever circumstance, season, stage of life you find yourself in, it is your responsibility to find joy. And so he would always challenge Amy and I to take, something that happened in the last week, like what really bugged you the last week in Amy, or Amy, what really bugged you, something Ted said or did, and then he called it treasure hunting. He'd like, let's figure out a way to have fun with it. And that's where all those examples in A Love That Laughs and in all my books come from. It's taking what we've now coined no big deal NBD is
Sure.
what we say
Sure.
often in our marriage. It's the little things that we let wear on us, and we need to learn to walk on the lighter side of those rather than taking everything so seriously.
Yeah.
That's so good. Would you say that you and Amy are wired very differently?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the extrovert. She's the introvert. I get energy being around people. She gets to church and is ready to find a corner to go hide in because it's just, because people can take it out of her. And so, or like if we're having a dinner at our house and having people over, all day is conserving the energy for that dinner. So
Sure.
we're different on every level. I tell people we both grew up in the Midwest. She was born in Minnesota but grew up in Nebraska. I grew up in Northern Illinois. And, I was taught that savings was money you put away for a rainy day. She grew up learning that savings was the difference between the actual price and the sale price. Two very different ways of looking at the same issue. I grew up seeing all signs on the road as laws to be followed. You break one, you go to jail. God stops loving you. That's how conservative a home I grew up in. She sees all signs on the road as suggestions for other people. So whatever the issue you want to bring up that every couple has to deal with, we're typically coming at it from a very different personality, family of origin, place in the country. Even though we're from the Midwest, it's still, we have to make the decision to not negotiate those differences, but walk on the lighter side of them, is what we say.
Yeah. That's so good.
I think that we can relate a lot to that. We are pretty different as well in trying to find the humor in that.
Yeah, I think it's the humor, it's the appreciation of, I'll just give an example of I'm a processor. Like you can almost see the wheels turning. It's so slow. Like I just have to think through things and
It drives me crazy. Because
Yes.
I'm like, I just need a response like right now. And when I'm waiting for that response, it's like you might as well just be pouring fuel on the fire because I'm like just starting to burn up. But learning that when you're waiting and processing, it's actually out of respect and like an honor of not wanting to say the wrong thing or not wanting to say something hurtful.
Right. Yeah. And wanting to give a good response and not a reaction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what does Scripture say? The wise restrain their words.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell husbands, the secret to restraining your words is to not let your wife know you're restraining your words. Like, you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't brag about it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you have
Yeah.
no idea what I want to say right now. But I am holding back because, no, just hold back and don't say anything.
That kind of
that's the
negates
key.
everything.
Yes,
that you just did. I'm like,
100%.
no.
Yeah, but you would prefer verbal processing because then you're brought into the conversation
Yeah.
in his head and you want to know what's going on in his brain.
Yeah. And he's gotten better at saying just like, hey, I just need to think about it. Or, hey, just give me a moment. And I kind of,
So
we've been
Michelle,
married
I'm a
for
little
almost
like
20
you. I would
Yeah.
say if you need to think about it, then the answer is no. That's like where my brain goes right away. It's like, I know what processing means. You're shut down to the idea.
Let's go.
Oh, well, just a quick segue here, just to kind of, obviously this is a marriage podcast. What role does fun and laughter play in your marriage?
Yeah. So we make it a goal. We believe laughter is an expression of joy. Okay, so laughter can lead to more joy, but when our hearts are light, and please hear me, we understand there's difficult seasons and stages of life, but the one thing we know as a Christian, joy and sorrow are travel companions. It's like we want to be in one season or the other, but I deal with so much heavy stuff in ministry and working with people and with couples, and when the Bible says to mourn with those who mourn and rejoice with those who rejoice, I think what we often forget is I'm doing that every day with people. As I mean, you take just an average Sunday at church, I'll meet a couple who's celebrating the news that they're pregnant and they're having their first child. So I'm rejoicing with them.
Yeah.
2 minutes later, I'm talking to a couple who miscarried.
Yeah.
And now I'm mourning.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I go over here, this couple just closed on their first house. Man, so this couple's excited and I can rejoice with them. And we had a flood and this couple lost everything that was in their basement. So I'm mourning with them. I mean, so
Right.
It's a roller coaster.
and I want the church needs to understand this is why you don't see tweets from me and social media posts from me that are constantly like, hey, Sunday's gonna be lit. Well, the bottom line is Sunday's not lit for everybody.
Yeah.
Like it's not hype for everybody. So when I talk about laughter and joy, I'm not talking about faking it.
Sure.
I'm talking about what 19th century preacher Henry Ward Beecher said. He said, a person without a sense of humor is like a wagon without springs, jolted by every pebble on the road. Good humor makes all things tolerable. Laughter is one way we can cope, and it's a healthy way to cope. It's a God-given expression that we have to not take ourselves so seriously, take God very seriously, but I'm able to walk through difficult seasons and stages that at times can be in the same day.
Sure.
As I walk with other couples through it. And Amy and I have just made it a habit, a discipline in our home. I told you she has that silent patriotic laugh. I've shared for years that I go after it every day. I don't get it every day, but Amy sitting right here would tell you, I get it out of her 5 to 6 times a week.
Yeah.
Like 5 to 6 days a week. We take walks every night. I kid people. She really wants me to live a long time. And that's why she walks me and the dogs before sunset every night. She's very passionate about walking. And so we walk the dogs. And it's usually on those walks that I can impersonate a church member. I'm glad those walks aren't taped because I have a lot of rich content that I get from people during the day. But I can get her stopping on the walk, leaning over. And if I can get my wife to put her hands on her knees and just shake her head and be like, can I? And out of breath from laughing, then I'm like, we're on to something. That's a win.
What is your laugh style, Ted?
I have it's a pretty annoying machine gun. When I really get to go,
can you demonstrate it, or can we do something?
That's it right there. Yeah, you see what I mean? It's not a. But
Rapid
look
fire.
at look
That's
at
so great.
You have the tilt of the head. You have more of a physical. Just the head goes back. I've noticed if I'm going to be real general here, men let it all out.
Sure.
Men, we don't care what we look like, and we're looking for our buddies to see if they're getting it too. Women just, this again, general observation, tend to hold it in. And I've observed thousands of people at date night comedy events, and I watch when the women get to belly laughing, they put their hands over their mouth, and they're like, and I'm going, what? Why do you feel? Because I don't know if it doesn't feel sophisticated or ladylike, but I tell ladies, let it out, just let it out. And enjoy it. So, Amy doesn't go for my laugh as much because I do plenty of, when she gets to laughing, laughter is contagious.
Sure.
It's a lot like a yawn.
Sure.
I get to laughing. So once I can get it going, I'm laughing, just enjoying watching her laugh. And all of this for me comes from Ecclesiastes 9:9, which I think is the missing marriage theology in the church. Enjoy life with your wife, whom you love, all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun, all your meaningless days. For this is your lot in life and in your toilsome labor under the sun. The word toilsome there means grueling.
Sure.
And I think we've all experienced this in the church. We have turned marriage into that toilsome labor, into that grueling work under the sun. And I just don't read in Scripture, I can't find it, where God gave me my spouse to be the toilsome labor. What I read in Scripture is God gave me my spouse to be a companion through the grind of life. Yeah. And so I tell couples all the time, if you want to experience high levels of marital satisfaction, keep this in mind. Jesus is your source. Satan is your enemy. Your spouse is your companion.
That's good.
And to experience high levels of marital satisfaction and to find the joy and to find the laughter, never treat your spouse like the source or the enemy. Your spouse is the companion. And I think the couple that doesn't have laughter, it's they've plugged into their spouse as the source, looking for something from their spouse can never fulfill for them.
Sure.
Or their spouse is the enemy.
Yeah.
And I remind couples all the time, your marriage has an enemy, no doubt. It's just not your spouse.
Yeah.
So fight on the same team. Walk side by side through life together.
That's great.
Yeah.
We talked a couple of weeks ago about just that marriage should be an adventure, that every man wants to be, it was based off of John Eldridge's book about, a battle to conquer, an adventure to have, a beauty to rescue, and not just seeing it as like something to endure, but having an adventure with each other. And I love the reminder to laughter. And I think I realize that Ryan, you laugh a lot and you're always telling dad jokes. And I don't know if
those
I
are
feel
the best.
you have started them more recently.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
Ted, I have to tell you, I did practice what you had in your book about you shared about a study where people stood around and they use this in therapy groups where
Fake laughter.
your brain can tell the difference between real laughter and fake laughter, but your body can't.
Isn't that great?
So you had said to put your hands to your jaws and go, ha, 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 he, ho, ho, ho. I got you laughing.
I know. I mean,
And then put it on your belly.
because you actually fell for it. No, I'm just kidding. It's true.
And it was such a riot. Like we just were like roaring with laughter. Now our daughter, she's 17. She's kind of a tough egg to crack. I think we might have gotten her at the very end.
Maybe.
You were pretty aggressive with your laughing, but I definitely had belly laughs going on, and it was so much fun.
With the 17-year-old, though, you got to remember when the kid turns 17. I noticed this with both my kids. That's when they really can't even stand the sound of you breathing. Right, the sound of you breathing is like, oh, you're even in here, right? And chewing put them over the top when they heard me chewing. So you can imagine fake laughter. But that's what I tell couples. Yeah, when your spouse says something that they think is funny and you don't, fake it. And let your body reap all those great benefits of laughter, the reducing of tension and stress, the burning of calories, the, taking in oxygen-rich air. There's so many physical benefits to laughter that even if it's fake, but you fake it enough, that laughter turns real pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like it's genuine.
Right. I'll start laughing at your dad jokes, Ryan.
What's your best dad joke?
Oh, so part of the thing that I've found that it's so much timing.
Everything's timing.
Is the thing. And so I've realized a little bit that whenever I tell face to face, they know it's coming. They're like, you're going to tell a joke.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But see, I've learned this, that if I send it in a text message as just part of random conversation, I feel like it draws quite a reaction.
Yeah, you hook us. We're like, what?
Yeah. So here's one.
I love it.
Oh man,
I love it.
get ready.
It's super.
I'm smiling.
This is super dumb. But the fact is that it really got you. I sent this message to we have a family thread, and I said, just spent $300 on a belt. And then I let it sit there for a little bit. And pretty soon Michelle starts, you did what? and then like there was a few other messages like, what? And then I was like, yeah, it was a huge waste. Yeah, so there you go. That's
everybody in the room's at least smiling.
Yeah.
Patrick, that was funny. I want to see how we got a chuckle. So I went from a smile to a chuckle.
Our audio team is smiling.
Yes.
We did good. Yep.
Yeah,
You got a laugh out of Ted too.
Awesome.
Now that laugh would be what? Is that that's not like a cackle. What is that? A belly? Was that a belly laugh?
No, you didn't get my belly laugh. My belly laugh is like that real annoying machine.
Okay.
Gun. That was my chuckle or cackle.
Okay.
Pretty close. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
All
that was
right.
really great. Well, Ted, what is the difference between laughing with your spouse and laughing at your spouse? Can you give us some guidance for that?
Yeah. So two things: appropriate humor and appropriate timing.
Sure.
Yeah. So there might be something that's appropriate humor. It's just the wrong time. Like it's too soon. We would use that term too soon, even as a joke.
Sure.
But there are times it's serious. Be like, hey, that's going to be something a week or two from now. We're going to find great humor in it, but not right in this moment. And I think that's where we do some real damage. True. And the whole premise of The Love That Laughs, the book, is couples who use laughter to manage stress and work through difficult conversations not only report higher levels of marital satisfaction, but they stay together longer. But if you're going to use humor to work through difficult conversations, timing is critical. Like it is so important that you don't let an event happen. And if you think about it, all comedy is based off of tragedy.
Sure.
I mean, if you think about some of your greatest comedians, some of my favorites live some of the most tragic lives. Like I have a friend right now who just went through a very, very difficult season. And his comedy that's coming out of that, but it's not ready for the stage. Does that make sense?
Sure.
But he's writing and he knows God has a story in that, and he's able to turn that mourning to dancing.
Sure.
And he's able to walk through that sorrow knowing he'll discover joy. He'll find joy, but it's a terrible time
Sure.
to share that. And I think that's where, so to me, when a couple says on their online dating profile, I'm looking for someone with a sense of humor, they're not saying they want someone who can tell jokes.
Sure.
They're wanting someone who can laugh at themselves and invite you in. That is the best humor, and that's the best way to find your shared sense of humor as a couple. I don't want to laugh at your expense.
Sure.
I want to use appropriate laughter at my expense and invite you into that.
Sure.
And then if you do that for me, if Amy does that for me, I don't come in with cutting, biting, sharp, sarcastic, which sarcasm actually means the tearing of the flesh. I don't come at it with that level of belittling humor. So you have to know where the line is. Even if your spouse invites you in with something, you're not going to believe what I just said, or you're not going to believe what I just did, and you get to laugh with it. That's where I think you really have to be careful that you don't take it too far.
Sure.
So I think there's a lot of couples that have a great shared sense of humor, but sometimes they forget about the timing and they walk away going, I took that too far.
Sure.
I should have drawn a line. So know where your spouse's line is and know when they're done and go as far as they want you to go with it.
So would you say it's maybe, because in your book you shared about when Amy spent like all afternoon making a salad and then she had these really cool like
it's very important that you make sure people know it was a Brussels sprout salad.
Sprout salad.
It's not no Caesar, no mixed
That's right.
greens.
It wasn't like a big mix. She had like worked really hard on it.
Yes, it was Brussels sprout salad. That alone should get a laugh.
and like major kudos points for making that, because like to make Brussels sprouts taste good, which I'm sure it did. Like that's
we'll never know. Too. It ended up on the floor.
Never know. So
where
she got these cool
where it belonged.
But now it's not too soon, so you can joke. But at the time, she had these cool salad lid toppers. They were flowers. You shared how she put it on top, and right when she was saying like, "Wow, these lids are amazing," she picked it up by the lid, spilled over the floor, and you went over and were cleaning it up, and she came back in. She just left the room. She came back in and you said, isn't this amazing?
Yeah, too soon.
Too soon.
But I knew when I was cleaning it up off the floor, one, I was grateful that I didn't have to eat it. Two, I'm going, I'll use this one day.
Yeah.
I will actually get a half a chapter in a book out of it. So I knew right there, but she was
always writing content.
Oh, she was mad.
She needed your compassion and empathy.
She wasn't mad at me. She's and I even invited my son, come over here, Carson. You're never gonna believe what happened. This was the best.
That was too soon.
It was way too soon.
Do you think it's best then to find humor in things like that you observe in the world, or like things that happen to us personally? Like, is that a better approach than, I mean,
so obviously comedy is observation. And my favorite comedians, Brian Regan, Nate Bargatze, Jim Gaffigan, and they're, they can go on 10, 15 minutes on cake, on pie, on, the TSA at the airport. So they're able to go many layers on a single issue, but they're just observing.
Sure.
And I'll give you and I put this in the book. This is important to understand. When we laugh at the videos we watch online of people falling down, we only laugh when we know they're okay.
Yeah.
And it is something about our brain that's able to, because there's some things I see online where somebody falls and gets hurt, and there's nothing funny about it at all.
Right.
You're like, whoa, that person's still alive is a big deal.
Yeah.
But there are other times, like a crazy fall happens and the person gets right up and it makes us laugh. And I just think that right there is a great example of all of our laughter. Like, we have the ability to discern that's funny.
Sure.
That's mean.
Sure.
And there's a difference.
Sure.
And our kids have learned that. And so that's why let people invite you into that rather than you calling it out. Because now you're just rude or mean in a belittling spirit. And that's not what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's really great. Well, Ted, you have a book that we have read, and it's called A Love That Laughs. Would you just share a little bit about this? I think one of the takeaways I have in my bag here.
I'm actually impressed you read it. Like, I mean, you got it. Like, she's not reading notes when she recounts those stories.
Right.
And I'm going to be happy to sign it so you can sell it on eBay for 75 cents.
I would love that. But what I loved was that it was really practical. So there were like lists in here on communication application types, and each chapter had prompts on it as well. Is there like maybe a takeaway or something that you can share with the listeners about just the book, or maybe a couple of nuggets from it?
Yeah. So honestly, what's become my favorite chapter in that book is chapter 2, which are the 38 benefits of laughter for marriage. And I encourage couples to start there, because not all of your listeners right now are convinced that it's that important for their marriage.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or that it's a neat thing. We'll watch a rom-com on Friday and laugh a little bit. And they don't see the value of it in daily life. And I'll tell you, I mean, this is in chapter 2 as well. There's a reason Southwest Airlines, Ben & Jerry's, and Google have fun and laughter in their mission statements, because they know it makes the workplace more productive.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'd say the same thing for marriage. There's a value to it for your marriage to grow you closer together and to experience higher levels of marital satisfaction, because your children are watching, friends and family, the church, the community is watching. And you're actually now, if you're known by the way you love one another, to me, laughter is an expression of love. It's like, I just really enjoy being with this person. The scripture says about the first church in Acts chapter 2, they ate together with glad and sincere hearts, right? They enjoyed being together. And this is my sadness with a lot of churches, is I meet a lot of people, they just don't enjoy being together.
Yeah.
It's like that the purpose of the church fellowship, that isn't just spending time together and serving one another. It's actually, I enjoy these people. I get life from these people.
Yeah.
I want to bring life to this. And that's why those 38 benefits of laughter, I want people to walk away from that chapter going, we have got to, whatever we do, we have got to figure out how to bring more of this into our life.
Yeah.
Because our walk with one another, our walk with the Lord, this is an overflow of that.
Yeah.
And it's a testimony to the world. And so, at the date night, I shared 7 of the 38. That chapter started off 75 benefits of laughter for your marriage. And the editor said, "You have lost your mind. Edit." I came back with 50.
Wow.
And she said, "You're kidding me. That's too many." It was like a 16,000 word chapter, which is way too much. It made the book kind of awkward. And I brought it down to 38. How'd you come up with 38? Because I refused to go down any lower because we were cutting out all these great, that list now is half of what it should have been.
Yeah.
And so, and there's just so many benefits, and it's changed our marriage. At 27 years of marriage, I can tell you, Amy and I enjoy each other now more than ever.
That's awesome. So awesome.
Yeah. I was going to look and see if I could find one. You shared that one about the wagon wheels. That was the one that I actually had underlined, was a person without a sense of humor is like a wagon without springs, jolted by every pebble on the road. Good humor makes all things tolerable.
Yeah,
that was
it opens
9.
us up for truth.
Yeah.
That's a big one. That's why
Helps
I
us
like to use it when I teach, because it's kind of like, I remember when we lost Amy's grandfather in 2012. The chaplain at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, said something to me I'll never forget. He said, Ted, Carson's young, and he doesn't 100% understand what's going on with the death of his great-grandfather.
Sure.
But you're going to have a moment where you're on the floor playing Legos with him, and he's just going to ask you something as simple as, what happened to great-grandpa's body? And you're not going to get a 5-minute lesson. You're not going to be able to reach for your Bible.
Right.
He goes, you're going to have 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Or less to teach him something, because the love language every kid gets is play. And when you're playing with a child is when they're learning, it's when they're absorbing, and laughter is play for adults. When you get someone laughing, this is what I love about date night comedy. It's not just an hour of laughter. There's a lot of truth coming in the side door that they're absorbing, and they're going to remember it, they're applying it. And so it's a key to helping people learn. You think about your favorite teachers in school. I almost guarantee you they made you laugh.
Yeah. Made it enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They spoke to your value and pictured a special future for you, but they made you laugh.
Yeah. Okay, Ted, it's our final 3 minutes of the podcast here today. This has been so much fun. We just have 3 questions that we like to ask all of our guests.
Okay.
Just kind of rapid fire here. First, why marriage? Why is marriage, what's your marriage why?
Yeah, so I have a mentor who God gave me years ago, 22 years ago, and he started pouring into me as a pastor, as a leader, as a communicator, as a writer, but all of it was for marriage. And so to this day, my wife says, I'm grateful God didn't give you a leadership mentor. I'm grateful God didn't give you a pastoral mentor, even though I have those. But the one that walked closest with you, Dr. Gary Smalley, poured into your marriage.
Cool.
Yeah.
And our marriage is to this day grateful. And that's why we say at our church, every marriage is a duet in need of great backup singers. Gary and Norma Smalley were our first backup singers.
Yeah.
And now we've made it our goal in life to be backup singers to the duets all around us.
That's
good.
beautiful.
Yeah, that's so good. All right, best date night.
Best date night, Warman House, Branson, Missouri at Big Cedar. Anyway, if you wanted to be that specific, we've become foodies.
Okay.
And so for us, a quiet table in a quiet restaurant, you're never going to, my wife, I've already told you, is more the introverted one. You're never going to catch us having a date night at Hard Rock Cafe. We've been in some loud restaurants.
Sure.
She does not like the loud. And it is, as much as we deal with, we like to go, and a great date night is decompressing, communicating. It's a signal to family and friends. Our marriage is important.
Yeah.
And this is us right now.
That's great.
And we do it in a as quiet of a booth or a table in a quiet restaurant as we can find.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Awesome. All right, last question. After 27 years of marriage, what's bringing you joy right now?
The empty nest.
Okay.
We're navigating that. We're still a little numb because it's only been about a month and a half
Oh, that's fresh.
since we sent our last child off to college. So we miss him. So we're dealing with that. But we already said, right, joy and sorrow are travel companions.
Yeah.
So we have great joy for him and him taking on the world and listening to him process life and making decisions for his future as an adult. At the same time, dealing with sorrow, just sadness over him being gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but we're finding joy in it because here's what we say: marital satisfaction, is a choice, not an outcome. It's something you choose, not something you wait for. You'll never discover it. You'll never stumble into it.
Right.
You have to go after it every day. So, in this new season and stage of life, we're figuring out what it looks like because it feels like date night every night, but we can't go to a nice restaurant every night. So we got to figure out what it looks like.
But maybe you could have a Brussels sprout salad.
I'm not going to let you end this podcast with Brussels sprout salad. Have you ever had Brussels sprout salad?
I think I have. Yeah. Can you repeat that line? Marriage satisfaction is a choice, not an outcome. That's really good.
People think I find the right person, we'll have it. No, a good match is a good start, but it's not a guarantee of a thriving marriage. Compatibility will be easy and automatic. No, you choose that. You're intentional with that. And so long as you're intentional, nobody wakes up and says, hey, today we're going to drift in our marriage. Drift is just the absence of decision. You've stopped deciding. Yeah. So you have to choose to find the joy every day.
That's so good.
That's so good.
Ted, thank you so much for being here today and being our guest. Where can we keep up with your happenings and where can we buy the book?
Yeah, so
or any of your books.
You can go to woodhills.org. That's our church website. That's where all our messages are. I have a course called Helping Couples Win, and so I have a website for that, and all of my resources are on there, helpingcoupleswin.com. And then this is the line you use on radio all the time, or wherever books are sold, right? So if you don't know about Amazon, I don't know how to help you. I don't. You're probably not on a podcast right now. You're not listening to a pod. If you found a podcast, you probably can find Amazon.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, and that is where I bought my book, and I was like, I hope he's still making money. So, but yeah, website. We'll put those links in there too.
So thank you.
We'll send them to your other website then. Thank you for joining us today in the Celebrate Marriage Cast. If you would like further help or resources on marriage and family, visit us at celebrate.church/marriage. And also, we will be back on 5 Minute Friday with Ted to talk about a thing called Callback. It's going to be super fun. So join us then. And in the meantime, have a great week.